Yeah, so at the time, just from a chat, we're volunteers. And so everybody, it's the same thing, right? You're balancing your day job and you're also essentially managing a small business. And so for the DC chapter, it's a big chapter. And so one of the big challenges for us just administratively was trying to keep up with having high quality content, and we had committed to having at least one monthly meeting every month, and then we were coming up with also these 2-day seminars. And how do you keep the content fresh, make sure you're chasing speakers, getting and you're not kind of going into sort of a cycle where it's the same. And so I know when I was the chapter president, we tried to come up with a structure of what does the whole year look like, and fill in speakers for the entire year. And now, while that may seem logical now, at the time, that's not how we were doing it. It was like a month to month, chase. And so by getting it was really a lot of work on the front end, but by getting us out ahead of everything, it helped to just make everything a lot more smooth. Yeah, I think that in we started looking at the sort of the awards that we were doing, because we had been doing the Evely Conyers Award for a number of years, and we had been giving out various presidential awards. But it was we were being catch up and constantly kind of chasing and trying to get organized. So I think putting that structure in and having that vetting process and really reaching out to prior chapter presidents and making sure that we had sort of the elder statesman or the wise men, and hopefully I'm not. I guess I'm one of them now. How did that happen? But I think it was really building on the success and achievements of the past, but getting more structure so that way we were not constantly running behind. But some of the other things that I know that was really important to me as a chapter president, and then later on when I served as the global chair of the International Board of ISACA, was really pulling in additional female women leadership. And at the DC level, that was a annual we started to doing an annual women's leadership conference, and that ultimately culminated when I became global chair of ISACA, which she leads tech. And so I do feel like that was laying the groundwork for that. Absolutely. So 2007 and 2008, and leading up to that, one of the things we started looking at was greening. The greening of everything, and what does what are virtual servers? What does this mean? And virtual servers at the time, it was just this neat new concept that you could spin up a server, but there was also from an ecological standpoint potential for savings of energy with data centers and those types of things. And so it was, I think that greening initiatives were a big deal. And part of that may have been, at the time I was the Deputy Inspector General of the House of Representatives, and Speaker Pelosi was either right, she was becoming speaker, or was right around the time she had become speaker. And that was a big initiative there. And that was having a sort of a spillover effect on a lot of the government agencies, was greening initiatives. And so since a lot of our chapter members were either directly federal employees or contractors who supported federal agencies, that was a real big push. And FISMA as well. So FISMA was also a big deal, and kind of really making sure, are we hitting the FISMA need? Are we training people at the right level? Or is it sort of, we didn't want to do this light touch concept thing, is really drilling in and getting those 2-day hands-on seminars, which I think you served a big support in that regard.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, definitely. So there's always this goal to bring in, the pipeline of students and people who are just coming into the profession, to let them know that, IT, whether it's IT audit or as a cybersecurity professional, not only is it you're going to find a job, right? There's so many things. There's such a high demand for that, but it's also really a lot of fun, and most students just aren't even aware of it as an option. And so it was really reaching out to several local universities, and creating those relationships with, at the time it was University of Maryland, Marymount was another one, but a lot of universities right in the area where reaching out who is the professor that we can maybe invite to some board meetings, and how do we as a chapter president or a board member, how do I go and engage with the students to get them excited about the profession, but also to help connect them with, how do we connect them with local employers and, get them launched into their careers. And so I think that that was a big push. And I think it continues to be, because it's like the students of when I was, chapter president are now well into their career. So we got to constantly kind of bring in that pipeline. Yeah, I think it's important to stay close to chapter members' needs. Sometimes we can get into an autopilot mode because we're so in the thick of it, where you're doing your regular day job, and we all have families and we all have personal obligations, and then you have this part-time volunteer running a business, and so there's a higher chance that you just kind of get into this rut where you're offering the same exact type of conference or same exact member touch point, especially on the heels of COVID, where that blew everything up, right? And so it's like, we can't assume that people love only online stuff, and we can't assume that everybody wants to do completely in-person stuff. Is to really make sure we're staying close to the members and what they need and what it is that's going to help them to thrive and feel that that the ISACA, the Greater Washington DC chapter, is supporting their needs. So I really credit so much of my, gaining all of my IT experience and just knowledge and my network, and honestly, my friends. Like, I have so many friends, and when I started off, and I had transitioned from being more of a financial type business type of auditor into IT. The local ISACA chapter really is how I transitioned and under getting the skill sets, but also the network and the people that I grew up with in the chapter. Now we're all 20 years further in our career, and we're all very, very senior leaders, and we're friends. And they're people I can rely on, and that's hard to come by with just sort of casual things. Where if I hit something, come across something in my regular day job that's sensitive, right? We're all handling very sensitive things, but there's so many people that I've gained relationships and friendships with, that I can call them up and say, hey, what are you doing about AI? What are you doing about cloud? Or pick your tech topic for the last 20 years, and they're not going to say, oh, Terry asked me this, and I think that no, it's a confidential conversation, and with a person that you trust, because it's a trusted friendship. And so I think that's really given me so much.